Okay everyone, today I'm going to go ahead and show you how I edited this second part of the handbag creation of this gentleman who was making leather goods. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and just play the video so you guys can see what it looks like, and then I'll go over the different things that went into the edit.
So this is the second day of working on this bag. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how long does it take. It could take a whole day, it could take a half day, it could take 2 days. It just depends. So I was traveling through Europe, Italy especially, and just seeing the different leather culture and all the art, and this bag pops into my head. So I kind of sketched it through my travels because I always carry a notebook with me. When I got back here to the shop in the US, I started designing it, patterning it, and making it. And the first one that I made, it took 30 seconds to sell it on Instagram. And it was pretty an awesome feeling. I mean, I didn't expect it to sell that fast. I wasn't even putting it on there for sale. I remember always asking my dad, "Hey Dad, how do you do this?" It was awesome because he was like a leather encyclopedia. My dad would always say, "Well, this is the way I do it. Doesn't mean I'm doing it right, doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong, but this is the way I do it." There's so many different ways of doing the same thing. And as long as the end comes out to a good product, then you've done what you were supposed to do. My earliest recollection of coming to the shop was when I was 5 years old. My dad would say, "Hey, if you sell some polish, I'll give you 25 cents. And at 5 years old, this was, what, early 80s. I mean, 25 cents back then was a lot, especially to a 5-year-old. And that's where I really started. And then I would come in the shop since I was a kid and just watch my dad, how he did stuff. One of my friends calls me the Da Vinci of leather because I'm always engineering something and doing something. For instance, these handles. A lot of people come in and their handles are always ripping or breaking. And so what I wanted to do on this handle was just rivet it in, because rivets are stronger than the stitch. It's one hole instead of perforation. Somebody once told me that if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. And I never believed them until I fell into this business.
All right, so that's the piece. So originally, the first handbag story I shot, it was a couple weeks before this, and he liked it so much that he wanted to continue it because the handbag that he was working on wasn't completed, and it just gave us more of an opportunity to continue the process. So the second part is here. I wanted to start off with him continuing on the handbag. So this is the opening shot. I'm going to show you what the color looked like originally without any color grading. So this is the look that we're going for. So right there. And then when I take off, I shot everything in Vlog. It's a very flat profile for Panasonic, and I was shooting this with the Panasonic S1. I used a Zeiss 50mm lens on this, and also a 100mm macro 2.8. The Zeiss was a Milvis, and the Canon 2.8 macro, 100mm macro, and that's all I shot it with. Here's what it looked like coming out of the camera. So see how that's really flat. It's pretty damn ugly if you ask me, but I wanted that so that I could have the flexibility in editing to adjust the colors the way I wanted. And so I added a little bit of a blue. I went through this on the last tutorial or look at. And so I added some blue into the darks, a little bit of cyan, and I really like the color. We've got one light on the far right of him, and then we also have a key light to the left. So his key's here, and then a hard side light separating him from the background, and then right around here to his right, he's got a work light. So we're mixing a little bit of warm color from the tungsten light that he has on his workbench with two 5600 Kelvin lights in the background. So it gives it a nice, you're able to mix the colors. And I like that. Some people don't like mixing colors, but it gave it character. And also, let's be true to the story. I mean, if his light is a tungsten colored light, you want to keep it the original color. So I just went with that, and I just gave it a nice color. So here we go. Beginning shot shows of him, and then let's continue.
So this is the second day of working on this bag. I mean, a lot of people don't.
Right there. And the situation, you know, audio is so important to video. It's almost more important than the video that you shoot. If you ever watch a video or watch a story on, you know, a movie on television, and the audio is terrible, you're gonna turn the channel. I've done it several times, and it's just, you just can't deal with bad audio. And if the picture's okay and the audio is terrible, you're just gonna turn the channel. So in situations like this, you wanna make sure that you are getting the sounds that you need. That means you need to put a microphone on top of your camera and really get in tight and get that sound. If you don't have a camera that can capture that type of sound, invest into a sound library. I go to soundstripe.com, and they have a ton of effects. So you could find something that would match what he's doing. But it's important to just get it while you're there if you can. So this piece has a ton of great sound effects that really help tell the story. And I incorporated it in there so that you can be a part of the story. So let's listen to that one more time.
So this is the second day of working on this bag. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how long does it take. It could take a whole day, it could take a half day, it could take 2 days. It just depends. So,
and to give you an idea on how I recorded him, I just sat him down and boomed a mic over top of him and just had him tell a little bit of a story. I talked to him a little bit about what it meant to him to create handbags, and I was able to get enough great sound from him to use as a layer to tell a story. So that's what I did. I just asked him a couple questions. You don't see him on camera doing the interview, but you do see him throughout the whole piece. And I wanted to do something different than I normally do, where you see the person sitting down giving an interview, because this is a different story, I think, and it lends itself to being able to do that, to be able to not see the individual talking, but really working, because this is what he's doing, right? He's actually really working in his workshop, and we want to see that. We don't want to see him sitting down giving an interview.
I mean, a lot of people don't realize how long does it take. It could take a whole day, it could take a half day.
Different cuts, see that? You go from a close-up. It's very, very, I strongly encourage you guys to get different shots. No one wants to see the same shot for too long, right? And, you know, it all depends too. Like, if they're doing something very interesting, then yes, I think it is important to stay on that shot. I think every editor and videographer, filmmaker has their style. So not, you know, one style isn't wrong from the other. However, it's just taste. And I like to shoot, you'll see throughout this piece that there are a lot of cuts. I like a lot of cuts, and I move around quite a bit when they're doing what they're doing in the shot. So I make different sequences within the piece to make it look as if there were several different cameras on the day of the shoot, and it just looks more interesting. If I needed him to continue doing something because I wanted another angle, I would just ask him, hey, can you go ahead and keep doing what you're doing so I can shoot it from a different angle.
The second day of working on this bag, I I mean, a lot of people don't realize how long does it take. It could take a whole day. It could take a half day. It could take 2 days. It just depends. So I was traveling through Europe.
Right there.
It could take a whole day. It could take a half day. It could take 2 days. It just depends. So I was traveling.
All right, so I'm over here. I've got a lot of foreground in the front of the camera to kind of show the depth of where he's at and just to make it more interesting so it's not so flat. And so he's gonna use this palette, and I asked him, hey, can you go ahead and redo that so I can get a close-up? Exactly the same, the reason what I was what I was talking about a little bit earlier about having him do things twice. And this is a perfect instance in which he was able to do that. I got this shot and then I said, hey, can you go ahead and hit that, I don't know if it's a nail or what, but can you do it again so I can get that close up so it looks like it was covered by 2 cameras.
So I was traveling through Europe, Italy especially, and just seeing the
close up,
leather culture and all the
another close up.
And this bag pops into my head.
A lot of shallow depth of field too. Right there, very shallow. Look at his hands, they're all blurry, right? My focus was right here. So I knew once he got to this point by the leather that his hands were gonna be in focus, and I wanted that. I wanted him to come into focus. Boom, cut. Perfect, look, listen to that sound. Another instance in which I asked him to do it more than once.
When I got back here to the shop in the US, I started designing it, patterning it, and making it. And the first one that I made, it took 30 seconds to sell it on Instagram.
Nice, that's a macro shot right there, I believe.
On Instagram.
It comes into focus right there. I want to show his face too. You don't want to just show hands, hands and tools. You want to show what he's actually working on as well as his expression while he's working. That's the macro shot right there.
I remember always asking my dad, hey dad, how do you do this? It was awesome because he was like a leather encyclopedia. My dad would always say,
different angles. See that? I shot it from the side. Boom, right there. Not too long of a clip, but then I create another shot right there, right behind him, to make it more interesting. We want to see him. We want to see the process of him creating this bag. So part of that process is, of course, he's going to be stitching, and you can get. I guess you could get away with this shot the whole time, but why? His foot is moving. There's close up. You know, this needle is going through the leather. You want to see that. You want to be a part of the story, and that's what you can do when you're shooting. You need to look at the different opportunities that you can use to help you tell a story. So instead of just this shot right here, you know, look what he's doing. He's moving his foot. He, you know, it's threading. Get those close-ups. Get wide shots. Look at that, right straight on, right there. That's the macro shot right there. So for those who think that, you know, you can't use macro lenses for anything but for bugs and spiders, and, you know, that's nonsense. They're a specialty type of lens that need to be used in certain situations. A great tool to have in your bag when you know you can use it. And, you know, you just keep it with you. I mean, this is an awesome shot.
Doesn't mean I'm doing it right. Doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. But this is the way I do it.
Now, right here, there was a little bit of, you know, I was on 5600 Kelvin, right? This light that he has over here kind of casts it up like a fluorescent. I should have probably rebalanced my camera for this shot, but when you're running and gunning, sometimes you just try to fix it in post, and I should have stopped and had him, I should have recalibrated my camera and white balance for this particular light. So, but I tried to fix it as much as possible.
The way I do it. There's so many different ways of doing the same
So right
thing.
there,
And-
I got my shot to be in focus at this point right here, and I just backed up the camera, kept it out of focus, and just gently moved in. Now all these shots are shot with the monopod, the Manfrotto monopod. All of it is on a monopod. There's no tripod.
So many different ways of doing the same thing. And as long as the end comes out to a good product, then you've done what you're supposed to do. My earliest recollection of coming to the shop was when I was 5 years old.
Putting the label on, or the middle portion.
At 5 years old, this was what, early 80s. I mean, 25
Look at that. That's, I really like that shot. This shot too. You highlight for the face, for the high points, for the right. If I were to raise the ISO so that I could see his whole face, it wouldn't be so dramatic. You want there to be shadow. You want there to be just a little bit of light, because look at this over to the left right here. There's a ton of bright light right there, right? That's probably even overexposed right there, but I'm exposing for his face. So what I did was I just opened up the iris just a little bit, just so that we could see his face. And I think it looks pretty good. I think I did a good job on this shot right here.
Early 80s.
And oh, see, again, a perfect opportunity to use your macro lens. If I were to use the 50mm lens on this, I mean, I guess you could shoot it as close as possible without it being out of focus. And because I'm using a 1080 timeline, I could have zoomed in and changed the shot a bit and kind of zoomed in. But this really shows the sewing machine in action.
Back then, this was a lot, especially to a 5-year-old. And that's
Changed up the shots.
I've been in the shop since I was a kid, and just watch
Hear that sound of the bag?
the shop since I was a kid, and just watch my dad how he did stuff. One of my friends
Over the top,
the Da Vinci,
over the head, over his head. I think I was on a step ladder on this point. Just gives it a different point of view.
calls me the Da Vinci of leather because I'm always engineering something, doing something. For instance, these handles. I love them. People come in and their handles are always ripping or breaking.
So he's talking about the handles. So whenever someone is talking about certain things, especially he's talking about the handles for sure. And you want to be able to show this. You want to show the handles that he's talking about, and he's talking specifically about how he's reinforcing these handles. So it's a pretty important part of the piece, because he's come up with a different way, a better way to attach these handles. So it's important to show that.
I love them. People come in and their handles are always ripping or breaking. So what I wanted to do on this handle was just rivet it in, because rivets are stronger than the stitch. It's one hole instead of perforation. Somebody once told me
Nice
that if you just
close-ups
put it on
right here. That, again, his sewing machine light gives off a green tint. I should have probably white balanced for this portion right here, but I thought my light to the left was enough, but apparently it wasn't. This is a little bit too green for my taste. It was even greener. I think it was a little bit warm and green originally, and I had to change the temperature. But it works. It could have been better though. It could have been better.
in your life, and I never believed them until I fell into this business.
And I asked him, hey, you know what? It would be really good to see the finished bag. We haven't seen the finished bag yet. We just seen pieces of you working on it. So I wanted to see the whole thing. And we were debating if we wanted to put it on a Lazy Susan or whatnot. But I thought, you know what? Why not offer the bag to the viewer, right? Because that's his profession, right? He makes bags and leather goods for people. So what better way to do it than to offer it to the camera?
Believe them until I fell into this business.
And he did his little wink. So that's how I edited this. I hope you guys learned something. Hope I didn't ramble on too much. But if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or put a message down below in the comments, and I will try to get back to you. Now, I've been doing this for about 20 years. I do this on the side. I used to work for several news stations in the Central Valley, and I decided to move on from there and work somewhere else. Still doing video, but then I'm also able to do stories like this on the side. So I'm able to help businesses and to get their word out and to kind of let people know how they came up. You know, it's important for the clients, I think, to understand where the owner has been in their life and how they learned the craft. And in this instance, we're hearing that Arson was able to learn his craft from his father, and I think that's a great story. So that's why I chose Arson to do this 2-part series. Hope you learned something. Feel free to comment, and also if you like this, please share and subscribe.